Term 2, Lesson 1, Business Studies, Grade 11. This lesson will be on creative thinking and problem solving. You will find the work in your textbook, page 60 to 65, and in your Gauteng Department of Education notes, chapter 7. What you will be tested on. You need to be able to explain, elaborate on the meaning of creative thinking. You must be able to differentiate between routine versus creative thinking. Differentiate or distinguish between conventional versus non-conventional solutions. Recommend ways in which businesses can create an environment that stimulate creative thinking. And that is your recap from grade 10 work. You need to be able to explain the benefits or the advantages of creative thinking in the workplace. You must be able to define problem solving. Explain the meaning of the Delphi and the force field analysis, and that is also a recap from grade 10. You must be able to apply a Delphi technique and a force field analysis from any given scenario or case study. You must be able to explain the advantage of working with others to solve problems. Interview a business and find out about the following aspects. What are the business's problems? And you must also create solutions to solve these problems. You must be able to assess the solutions against the reality of the business or the circumstances of the business. We are first going to look at the meaning of creative thinking. Creative thinking refers to thinking differently and looking at something in a new or a different way. Creative thinking is about approaching a thought in a new and an interesting way. It is a process of putting facts together in a new and original way. Business need to solve their problems efficiently in order to find creative solutions to problems. So creative thinking is all about new. What does the famous entrepreneur say about creative thinking? We are going to look at what the expert Jobs says. Steve Jobs said that creativity is just connecting things. When you ask creative people how they did something, they feel a little guilty because they didn't really do it. They just saw something. It seemed obvious to them after a while. That's because they were able to connect experiences they've had and synthesize new things. And the reason they were able to do that was that they've had more experiences, or they have thought more about their experiences than other people. Unfortunately, that's too rare of a commodity. A lot of people in our industry haven't had very diverse experiences, so they don't have enough dots to connect, and they end up with very linear solutions without a broad perspective on the problem. The broader one's understanding of the human experience, the better design we will have. So basically what Jobs is saying here is that the more experience you have, the more you will be able to connect things differently. Differences between routine versus creative thinking. Routine thinking is boring. It refers to ordinary, everyday, conventional thinking. It's usually suitable for work that requires logic, consistency, and attention to detail. It does not lead to new ideas or thoughts. It requires businesses to apply old thinking patterns to new situations. Creative thinking is exciting. It is non-conventional. It refers to looking at an opportunity for a problem in a new and in a different way. It is invaluable in keeping the business innovative and relevant in a changing market and to solve new problems. It leads to an idea that is original compared to existing ideas. It requires businesses to apply new ways of thinking to old situations. So routine thinking is conventional thinking. Creative thinking is non-conventional. Video on routine thinking versus creative thinking. What is the difference between conventional and non-conventional solutions? Conventional solutions are your ordinary and unimaginative solutions. Your non-conventional solutions are creative. They are different. Conventional solutions are solutions obtained through logical, analytical problem-solving methods, whereas non-conventional, the creative solutions, are obtained from creative thinking. Conventional solutions are often only one solution, whereas non-conventional often contains more than one solution to a problem. Conventional solution chooses and looks for what is right. Non-conventional solution changes and looks for what is different. Conventional solutions concentrates on relevance. Non-conventional solutions does not mind chance interruptions, or actually change interruptions. Conventional solution moves in the most likely direction, whereas non-conventional solutions explores the least likely direction. Ways in which businesses can create an environment that stimulate creative thinking. The emphasis must be put on the importance of creative thinking. We need to encourage staff to come up with new ideas. And then we need to maybe look at job swaps so that the people can study how other businesses are doing things. We can encourage alternative ways of working or doing things. And when people are very creative or they give new ideas, we need to respond enthusiastically to those ideas and also reward the creative ideas. Video on creating a creative workspace. What are the benefits or the advantages of creative thinking in the workplace? Complex business problems that are usually difficult to be solved can now be solved. Creativity may lead to new inventions, and that will bring in more money and maybe also generally increase the standards of living of people, or better the standards of living of people. We may have better, unique, unconventional ideas or solutions that are generated. We may give business a competitive advantage because this new strategy that are implemented can maybe raise the profits. Managers and employees have more confidence as they can live up to their full potential. Managers will be better leaders because they will be able to handle or manage change positively and more creatively. So now we're going to look at what is the meaning of problem solving. In the previous slides, we looked at creative thinking, and now we're going to go over to problem solving. What does problem solving mean? Problem solving is a clear process. So you can remember from grade 10 that we did the problem solving cycle, and we know that it's a process that we need to follow in order to solve problems. A process of finding the correct strategy to respond to a problem. Problem solving involves analytical and creative skills. Some businesses uses the PDCA process, and that is the plan, do, check, act process or cycle to solve a problem. Here you will have an example of the PDCA cycle and how it is implemented. Video on problem-solving technique, the Delphi technique. We are going to look at the meaning of the Delphi technique. This technique is used in a business to solve new and complex problems. So if you receive a case study and they ask you to identify the type of technique that the business will use, then if it's a new problem or a complex problem, then your answer will be Delphi technique. The Delphi technique is a popular method of gathering information by using selected experts on the specific topic. It's very important that you know that we make use of an experts panel. This group of specialists or experts never meets face to face. This technique uses a series of questionnaires, very important to remember that, to obtain feedback from experts. The questionnaires are used to bring about agreement from different views. So what are the ways in which the business can apply this technique? We can also say the steps used during the process of the Delphi technique. Firstly, businesses must invite the panel of experts. Then they need to contact them individually. They must design a questionnaire consisting of questions on how to improve, for instance, the quality of the tiles or anything they try to figure out. And they need to design this questionnaire so that the experts can answer the questions. They need to request that the panel individually responds to these questions or the questionnaire. Then, as soon as you receive the questionnaires back, you're going to summarize the responses from the experts in a feedback report. Then you're going to send this feedback report back to the panel of experts, and they're going to set up a new questionnaire, and you're also going to give that to them. And then you're going to request that these experts provide further input or ideas based on the second questionnaire. Then you're going to follow the whole process again and then distribute a third questionnaire based on the previous feedbacks from the second round of questionnaires. Then, after the third questionnaire, you're going to prepare a final summary or feedback report. And then based on the final summary or feedback report, you're going to choose the best solution. Okay, grade 11s, we're now going to look at the force field analysis. And I have attached a video that will explain to you how the force field analysis works. Okay, so the force field analysis is a method of listing, discussing, and analyzing the various forces for change, in other words, the advantages for changing, and the various forces against change, in other words, the disadvantages of change. And it is often used for planning and implementing change. And when you want to overcome resistance to change, you also use the force field analysis. So basically how it works, you write the problem, or not the problem, the change that is going to take place in the business, you write in the middle. And then all the forces for this change, or all the advantages of this change, you'll write on the left-hand side. And all the forces against change, or the disadvantages for this change taking place, you put on the right-hand side. Then you assign a score for each force for change and for each force that you listed against change. The score is from 1 to 5 marks. 1 being a low force for change or against change, and 5 being a high force for change or against change. And then obviously 2, 3, and 4 in between. You then add up all your forces for change and you add up all your forces against change. And the force that weighs the most will determine whether this change will take place or whether it will not take place. That's why they say that this tool is very useful to overcome resistance to change. Because if you can show your employees that the forces for change weighs more than the forces against change, then they will understand why this specific change is good for all. Now, what are the ways in which the business can apply the force field analysis? We can also see these as the steps used to set up a force field analysis. First, you describe the current situation of the problem and the desired situation. Then you identify what is going to happen if there's no action taken. You list all the driving forces, or the pros, and the restraining forces, or the cons. Then you discuss the key restraining forces and determine their strengths. give them a grade from 1 to 5, or give them a mark from 1 to 5. Then you discuss the key driving forces and determine their strengths. You allocate a score to each force using a numerical scale, where 1 is weak and 5 is strong. Then you weigh up the positives and negatives, and then decide if the project is viable. Analyze the restraining forces and best way of advancing these restraining forces. You must then explore the driving forces and the best way of advancing them. Choose the force with the highest score as the solution. If the project is viable, find ways to increase the forces for change. Identify priorities and develop an action plan. There are many advantages of working with others to solve problems. We are going to look at a few. First and foremost, we will see that the problem can be solved faster and easier. The workload decreases. More ideas are generated. And because we have exposure to other people's thinking patterns and the way other people approach problems, we can also solve the problems in a better way. It enables team members to learn from others and accept their points of views, and therefore greater results can be achieved. And that is your lesson 1 for term 2.